Hey, before this video starts, I do kind of want to apologize for leaving a pretty big gap between this video and the last one. I got really busy with a bunch of projects for college all of a sudden. They just kind of kept piling on. So I honestly just didn't have time to edit this video and finish it until now. I'm currently recording this many weeks after I wrote it. So I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna play the actual video now. Episode 2 of What If is, well, it's an episode. To be honest, I kind of have mixed feelings on this episode. I like it, but it also feels kind of odd. Before I get into it, let me once again remind you of spoilers, not only for this episode, but for the entire MCU. Alright, moving on. So this episode's concept is that Yondu, on his way to pick up Peter, that Peter, picks up T'Challa instead by mistake. T'Challa becomes Space Robin Hood, and because of that, he ends up looking for this thing called the Embers of Genesis that can heal planets or something. Anyway, he goes to look for it, and wacky hijinks ensue. That's really more or less the entire episode. Kind of just a character switcheroo. Not that that is necessarily a bad thing. Character swaps can be pretty fun. That reason alone is probably why there are so many character swap alternate universes, better known as AUs or fanfics. If you don't know what a character swap AU is, it's basically an alternate universe where most of, if not all, the characters in a story have switched places or roles. An example of a character swap AU that comes to mind is the Undertale swap AU. If you know nothing about Undertale, then this will probably contain some spoilers. Sorry. But you know, the game's kind of been out for like 6 years at this point, so if you haven't played it, then that's really on you, man. There are quite a few Undertale swap AUs, but I'll just focus on the most well-known one. In this AU, instead of Sans being the lazy, pun-loving, full-of-secrets weirdo that he is, and instead of Papyrus being the hyperactive, pun-hating, spaghetti-loving weirdo that he is, they're different. Now, Sans is the hyperactive one that's low-key a loser, like Papyrus was in the original game, and Papyrus is the laid-back one that's low-key more popular. They've switched places in the story, but they have the same role as the person that they've switched with. There's no major change to the story, it's the exact same, but some characters are now playing other characters' parts. And that's not to say that character swaps or whatever are bad. Like I said, they can be fun. It's fun to see a character that we know acts a certain way in the canon act completely differently. But that's what this episode feels like to me, a swap AU. But that's not to say there aren't some major changes to the story. It's not just the first Guardians movie, but T'Challa switched out with Star-Lord. It's more than that. It's T'Challa being Space Robin Hood, something that totally falls in line with his character. There just isn't much more to it beyond that. Sure, it's fun to see what T'Challa would do if he were in Peter's situation, but it just feels like there should be more. But don't take that as me saying that fun stories are dumb and boring. There is nothing wrong with a show or an episode of a show being nothing but silly fun. If that's what this episode wants to be, then that's completely fine, and I can respect that. But something about it just feels incomplete, but I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe it's because the other episodes feel more based on scenarios than this one does. This one is still scenario-based, sure, but it just feels kind of random. As in, why is it T'Challa that was abducted? What was the point of him being the one that was taken? The other episode scenarios don't feel as random. Well, not counting the zombie one, but honestly, even that one felt like it fit better. Why is it Peggy that gets the serum and not like Tony's dad or whatever in the first episode? Because she's the only one besides Steve that's willing to take the risk. She's also the one that's closest to it, and if it were Tony's dad in that position, then who would work the machine when likely no one else knows how to work it? It makes sense for her to be the one that gets the serum in that episode. It just doesn't make much sense for T'Challa to be the one that's abducted here. He has literally nothing to do with the Guardians. Hell, T'Challa has probably never even interacted with any of the Guardians. The only time he might have said a word to them was at Tony's funeral. I get that the point of T'Challa being picked up was that it was meant to be entirely random and completely accidental. But guess what? By making it random, it's gonna feel pretty random. And now I've said random so many times that it doesn't sound right. Alright, enough of that. Let's talk about some stuff I liked. Like I said, T'Challa being Space Robin Hood is totally in character for T'Challa, and I like it a lot. That fits him really well. I like that T'Challa is well known. Hell, he's practically famous because of the fact that he helps others. I think that's cute and provides a nice contrast to the first Guardians movie. Because Peter wasn't well known because he was selfish, but T'Challa is known because of the opposite reason. I like how T'Challa tends to solve things through words and conversation instead of outright violence. And I like how he basically adopts everyone, like the guy in the beginning who was fangirling over him, or Thanos. Wait, Thanos? Like that Thanos? Yeah, that Thanos. I actually really like the decision to have him be part of T'Challa's crew, to basically have him be a good guy. I think doing that is a good way to show that Thanos is a thing of the past in the MCU, that he's no longer a threat and is not coming back in a meaningful way. It reminds me of how in Loki they show that the TVA has multiple Infinity Stones that they just use as common office paperweights. That tells the audience that the whole Infinity Stone saga is over and done with, and now we're dealing with stuff that is, no doubt, even more powerful and dangerous. I also kind of like Nebula and the fact that she's pretty mentally stable now. In the previous film she came out in, she was devoted to her dad because she wanted to be validated and treated with the same respect that Gamora got. And now that her dad is good, she doesn't feel the need to do that. She's on her own, and though she kind of recognizes that Thanos has changed now, it doesn't mean that it can make up for what he did to her in the past. I don't know, just something about her not forgiving him right away is nice, even if she does more or less become okay with him at the end of the episode. I also like that the new threat is the Collector, and that his slave and all the people he captured get to have their revenge on him. Like, good is what they deserve. The Collector being a new big threat in this universe is kind of cool, and his character is so over the top that I'm really on board with it. I also like the fact that Mr. Howard the Duck is here. I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see him. But then there's the twist of Nebula betraying T'Challa and his crew, but no she didn't, it was part of the plan. Feels kind of weird. I don't know, it's like the episode wanted to subvert your expectations by not just having one twist, but two. But it just feels kind of confusing. The twist of Wakanda not having been destroyed is fine. I don't really have strong feelings on it one way or another. I don't know, that part just felt like every other "you lied to me" thing. Although T'Challa saying "you were never my family" feels pretty extra mean. I understand he's upset, but still feels pretty mean. Anyway, another thing I liked is Yondu's speech at the end when talking to T'Challa. It was just really sweet. Him saying that there isn't a place that he doesn't belong, just, aw, that's really cute. And the whole family reunion is also really soft. I like it. So as you can see, there's a lot of little things I like about this episode. But the overall product just feels like there's something that's missing. Something that's keeping me from liking it wholeheartedly. Overall, it has a lot of good little moments, but the overall concept I have an issue with, and I honestly can't really get over it. It's good, but it also kind of has a lot that's holding it back for me personally. And before this video ends, I do want to mention the message for Chadwick Boseman that's at the end of this episode. As you all probably know, Chadwick died last year of colon cancer. Chadwick was so incredibly talented, and I really admire him. He really cared a lot about T'Challa and Wakanda as a whole. The fact that he learned Kosa and fought for him to use the language and for him to have a unique accent really shows how much he cared. I have nothing but respect for him, and I hope he's resting peacefully now. And with that, I finished this episode's review. So, if you liked the video, then consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing. Also, I'm sorry again for this review being really late. I realized that the show was now over, but I'm going to keep making these videos anyway, just because I like the show. I've also just been really busy with a lot of stuff. After the first video came out, I got to work on the script for this video literally the day after, but I just did not have time to edit this video until now because I had a lot of projects and tests for school to take care of. So, sorry. I still don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to solely doing just these videos, but I have a bit more time now since I don't have nearly as many projects to worry about anymore. So I will start writing the next video and hopefully I'll start editing it soon too. Just bear with me. I am still in college, still have grades to worry about, and I'd rather not flunk out of school. So anyway, as I said, subscribe if you want to. I would really appreciate it. That'd be nice. Stick around for the next one, and I'll see you guys sometime soon, hopefully. Bye.